Hello, my fellow geeks. You are listening to the Indian AvGeek, and I am slightly sick, Vishal Mehra. This episode was supposed to go live last week, but then the Jeju Air tragedy made me think twice about it, and I decided to delay it by a day. Unfortunately, post that I got really sick, as you can guess from my voice even now. Thankfully, this conversation with Devesh Agarwal was recorded while my voice was still on acceptable standards, I would say. Nonetheless, let's get on with the second part of the series where I began with asking Devesh something which hasn't aged well for me. I asked him how was his Christmas.
It was fun. A lot of Christmas parties. Good time to meet up with friends. Luckily, work pressures drop a little bit for certain people. May not be for all, but by and large, good. How was yours?
Good fun. I'm in your neck of the woods for the next few days, traveling through Bangalore, Mysore, and then will be in Coorg to bring in 2025 with the family. We started our last episode with the ministry and the regulator. Let's start this part with airports, and we'll restrict ourselves to top 3 airports of the country, okay? That would be Delhi, Mumbai, and Hyderabad, right, Devesh?
Yes, I know you are trying to get a raise out of me, and you know fully well that Bangalore now is firmly ensconced and entrenched in position number 3. Nice try, Vishal. Nice try.
November 2024 stats are also out, and Bangalore is firmly the number 3 airport of the country. And first time in November, the airport has surpassed 500,000 international passengers, almost a 27% year on year growth. Very impressive. Overall, India had 14.5 million domestic passengers in November. Again, a new record. So, interesting and a jumbo month for the aviation industry. Delhi remains and will remain numero uno in the country for a long time to come due to various reasons. Recently, it connected its 150th international destination airport as well.
I think if you recall last year, or rather at the start of this year, the year began very badly for Delhi. In the month of January was that major fog fiasco.
Yeah.
From what I can hear is, we discussed it if you see in the last week episode, we discussed the concept of the German tent and all that. So they seem to be a little better prepared for the fog. I was just now, recently in Delhi, and with the air quality, what it was, I thought I was in the middle of a fog, except in this case, it was just a pure smog. So I do feel that operations are going on, and uh, the airport should be well poised to, handle the disruptions that Mother Nature will bring.
Any other highlights for the airport in 2024 as per you?
I did arrive at the new Terminal 1, which is still a significant work in progress. The arrivals is very smooth, very nicely done. The departures, I definitely think needs a serious upgrade. There were huge lines all over the place. And, to me, as of now, doing a great disservice to passengers. And I really urge Delhi Airport to implement Digi Yatra as soon as possible because it really streamlines a lot of things.
I think Digi Yatra is implemented, but maybe some parts of the airport,
No, sir,
of
not in
the airport,
Terminal 1, not in Terminal 1.
not in Terminal 1, that's right.
Terminal 1 being home to Indigo and Indigo being India's biggest airline by a large margin. It is something very, very imperative that the airport has to implement.
I think another thing we can quickly mention is the number of exclusive destinations that the Delhi airport serves, right from Phnom Penh to Calgary to Montreal to Washington Dulles, Haneda, Vancouver, destinations that no other airport in the country connects. From that perspective, as well as 78 million passengers, increased transfer traffic this year. And we will talk about Air India also in a bit, as far as transfer traffic is concerned and its role in helping Delhi become a global hub. On the other hand, there was a terminal roof collapse too, led to a tragic death. Quite a year for the airport, I think one can say. And how do you think, Devesh, the year was for them, as well as for Mumbai and Bangalore?
Vishal, that is your home airport. I will always defer to you. It is important to realize one or two things. There are certain geographic benefits that come from Delhi being located where it is. Also, the fact that if you look at pretty much all bilateral agreements, automatically include Delhi because it's the nation's capital. The same thing applies to Bombay. Today, if since we were talking top three, if you see Bangalore airport now is almost at similar domestic traffic levels than that of Mumbai. It is almost there. I think the difference is only 2 or 3 million, which is less than 10%. And the fact that Bombay airport went on overall because of, again, being a default port of call in almost every agreement, air service agreement that the country has signed with any other foreign country, it has a very significant international traffic. But if you see, Bombay airport still faces, for instance, a serious airside capacity crunch. They have only 2 runways. They cannot expand more. I'm not sure about the progress of the NMI, the Navi Mumbai International Airport. And even when that comes up, I think it's going to have only a capacity of about 10 million or so. How the traffic is going to get split, who's going to go all the way? Of course, Bombay and Maharashtra as a state, the government has been implementing some very, very strong infrastructure projects, the coastal road, the Atal Setu, all these various projects that are connecting various parts of the bay and greater Mumbai area. So yes, once that airport comes online and it really picks up capacity, then we see again Bombay going surging ahead. Bangalore airport, the new terminal 2 is fabulous. The operating company here, Bangalore International Airport Limited, which is owned by Prem Vatsa, is doing a great job. They've got a very dynamic leadership team in Hari Marar as well as Satyaki Raghunath. And Bangalore as a city is, very, very different. If you see, they've created this place called the Quad right outside Terminal 1. And you've got microbreweries, and I take the driver, we go there just to enjoy a beer and come back. We're not traveling, but we go to the Quad to enjoy the food, the beer, and come back. So they're making it kind of they're thinking 360 degrees, which is one of the reasons why you see Bangalore Airport getting all these praises that it is getting.
I had the good fortune of speaking with Sataki a few weeks back, and Quad was something that came up in our discussions, and he was quite proud of it, rightly so. I think this is also a good time to mention how impressively Mumbai is doing as far as cargo is concerned. So often an overlooked part and a very important part of the entire airport operation. The less glamorous bit, but very important. Bangalore as well, number one airport in the country to manage perishables cargo. In terms of domestic destinations, also, Bangalore actually is slightly ahead of Delhi right now. Staying on Bangalore, would you like to talk about the Air India MRO coming up?
Yes, so I thought we'll cover that when we are doing Air India. Uh, Bangalore, you see, Vishal, one has to go back a bit in history. Bangalore has always been a victim of the traditional four metro thinking that, was in the government of India. They essentially ignored Bangalore for a very, very long time. And that, in a way, allowed Bangalore to develop what I would use the word a more high value add industry. So even in the mechanical engineering side of things, you see companies like Bosch, the erstwhile HMT, Ace Designers. So you see a lot of machine tool manufacturing, which is very high value add, precision engineering. You see BHEL, you see BEL in the electronic side. HAL, of course, has been there for the longest period of time. Electronics as a whole. And then, of course, as you know, in 1985, when TI came to India, they used set Bangalore, and then, they say the rest is history. Bangalore is the IT capital today of probably the eastern part of the world. And you have developers and knowledge workers from all over the country and all over the world coming to Bangalore. So it is but natural for Bangalore to have connections to all parts of the country because of a much more diverse population in the city. And as I said, because of history, Bangalore as a city has always been welcoming of people from other parts of the country. Similarly, on the nature of industry, Bangalore, you were mentioning perishables. Bangalore exports more perishables, or rather, it is 2x its next nearest competitor. So that means that Bangalore essentially exports pretty much more perishable cargo out of this country than I wouldn't like to interpret, but almost the rest of the country combined. So air cargo has always been at the core of an airport in Bangalore from a very, very long time. And so that trend continues. In fact, I was president of the Bangalore Chamber, and we have proposed to the government to set up a second airport. And we pointed out to the government at that time that the second airport need not be overly focused on passengers, but it needs to focus on the needs of industry and cargo. Given that Hassan is a food processing hub, just south of Bangalore is floriculture, so there is a lot of perishable
And
cargo going out.
there is already surveying work being done right now for the second airport, right?
Yes, they're identifying locations to put forth to the government. My point was that the second airport need not be as passenger focused as the current airport is. And the second airport can have far more focus on cargo, freeing up space and landing space, landing slots and things like that in favor of the current Kempegowda airport can transfer some of its cargo load to a new airport when it comes.
Are there slot issues at the current airport, or are
There
they
are,
restricted to peak hours only?
yeah, obviously it is in peak hours. It is in peak hours, and unfortunately, cargo has to, especially when it comes to perishables, it still has to work as per the timings of the government. Exports requires it requires customs, it requires banking, it requires other government, what are called sovereign functions and business support functions, and many of them work only during certain hours. They need not necessarily work 24 hours. Having said that, Bangalore Customs is considered one of the most efficient customs directorates or collectorates in the country.
Let's switch over to OEMs and go from Bangalore to Boeing. Start with the company from Seattle. Quite a year, plenty of controversy, new leadership. How do you think Boeing performed in the Indian market in 2024? And I know you will need to give it a global color as well. But what's your take?
So let's first begin with from Bangalore to Boeing. Within Bangalore, Boeing opened a brand new engineering center, massive center. Airbus has expanded its engineering center. So Bangalore has always been the home of aerospace in India, and its leadership continues in this particular sector. It is unmatched despite the efforts of governments from across the country. So coming back to that, Boeing has invested significantly in India on in terms of their engineering capabilities as well as sourcing. Now, coming back to Boeing as a whole, just to give certain things in perspective, since we are doing a bit of comparison, the year began horribly bad for Boeing when the Alaska Airlines door plug flew out. And then, literally, along with that, every kind of thing that happened to Boeing flew out with it. And they have been in deep trouble, deep, deep trouble, pretty much across the through the year. It's been one fiasco after the other, change of leadership, the machinist strike, etc., to the extent that I think for the year, Airbus is expecting to deliver some 770 aircraft or thereabouts. That is their target for the year against a plan of 800. And Boeing is going to deliver only somewhere like around 360 to 380 aircraft. I mean, it's almost half. What does that tell you? There was a point when people were saying, if it is not Boeing, I'm not going. And now it is, if it is Boeing, I'm not going. The company has really, really fallen from grace, and Kelly Ortberg is really trying to put things back. He has got a very long road ahead of him. I do believe that Boeing will catch up. They are still facing some headwinds, especially both their aircraft. The 787 is facing engine issues from Rolls-Royce. Of course, the 737 MAX is still under, immense scrutiny. So it will be a bit of time. Luckily for Indian carriers, both Air India Express and Akasa have ordered those aircraft which were not taken up, as we call in the aviation parlance, NTUs, because China had delayed the recertification after the MAX, crashes. They took a long time. So Boeing diverted this aircraft to other customers, and the biggest beneficiaries have been uh, Air India Express and Akasa. So from that perspective, Boeing will have a better time in India. From a overall perspective, Boeing is doing well in India. They are delivering military aircraft. Their cooperation with government is very strong. They are still a major player at Nihan in Nagpur. So Boeing that way I see is far more invested in India than Airbus is. Not to say that Airbus is not catching up. Airbus is supplying aircraft, but Airbus is now beginning to get entrenched in the Indian aviation ecosystem. They are sourcing doors for the A320s for a long time from India. Now they're doing A220s. So they are both manufacturers are increasing their sourcing from India.
Would you
And
say Airbus had a better year in India comparatively?
obviously, Airbus has had a better year across the world. They're still facing issues with the Rolls-Royce Trent XWB engine, the variant that is for the A350-1000. As you can see, that Emirates did not order the A350-1000, or as we like A35Ks, as we like to call it, purely because the Trent engine is still facing issues in what's called hot and high conditions. So when we come to Air India, we'll discuss this. By the time Rolls-Royce is working on fixing it, and I think by the time the Air India orders start coming up for delivery, I think the engine issues will have got fixed.
We will, of course, discuss Air India later on in the podcast, but Akasa also did a follow on order for their 737s, and there is talk of that being increased to 150, including options. So there has been some sales activity for Boeing.
So, as I pointed out, Vishal, Boeing has always been well engaged with India, even before, say, Air India. When Air India was in government hands, Air India always considered itself as a Boeing company. Indian Airlines was the Airbus company, Air India was the Boeing company. And so uh, Boeing has always been involved in India. And also, it helped the fact that Boeing had aircraft to deliver quickly. Right now, for Akasa and this thing, Air India Express, the urgent deliveries are the need of the hour. So they are going with Boeing for now. And that's how, whatever it takes to get the order. Yeah. Ultimately, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes, which is fine. That's how things going. I mean, Indigo is going all Airbus. They put a lot of pressure on Airbus. I think we discussed it last week. Air India, I mean, Indigo has placed more orders than Airbus can produce in an entire year. Both airframers are very well set in India for the years to come. They've got significant orders. It's now for them to deliver.
From a military perspective, Airbus is also quite engaged. There's a C295 line which has opened up recently in Vadodara. The first 6 aircraft have come from Spain, and they have to replace the aging Avro fleet. All of this is besides the Air India and Indigo orders, all right? So from Boeing and Airbus, let's talk about ATRs and Embraers. How do you think 2024 was for regional airlines in the country?
Vishal, regional, you are the king. I should be, in fact, I want to turn the tables on you since you normally tend to ask the questions. I'm going to turn the tables on you this time and ask you, Vishal, in your thoughts, how were the regional airlines in India for 2024? What do you see in the regional market? We should hear from you.
Okay. Clarification first up. Certainly not the king of anything, but I've had the good fortune of speaking with the founder of Fly91, Manoj Chacko, and Embraer's Asia Pac marketing director in the recent weeks. Also, some people of the podcast as well from regional aviation. I think this year was quite transformative for regional aviation in India. That's the word I would use. I was reading somewhere that 100 new domestic routes were opened up. That boosted connectivity within the country. I think Udan continues to play a very important role, which is great. I remember there used to be a major airline which was quite anti Udan, but has certainly opened up and turned a corner on that thinking, having a regional subfleet now. There's more competition in the market. Star Air recently announced fleet expansion plans, and they will have a fleet of about 25 aircraft in the next 3 years or so, adding E175s, Embraer E175s. So many new
Will
routes
they be
have
adding
opened
the
up.
two models, or are they going to order the more legacy 175s?
Yeah, 175 LRs, that's what I read. And they've also partnered with Spice Express on the cargo front. Similarly, from a Fly 91 point of view, 2024 is the year they launched. This is their birth year. Goa is their base. Started with Goa Bangalore and Goa Hyderabad, but they have since expanded quite a bit and continue to do so. Udan has helped them, and Manoj told me Udan or no Udan, they have a viable business plan in place. So, all in all, a good year, a transformative year for regional airlines in the country as far as I'm concerned.
If I may,
Yeah,
Vishal, I'll pick on one point you said.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Cargo,
Yeah.
up till now, in India as a whole, we never truly appreciated air cargo. And with the advent of e-commerce companies, Amazon, Flipkarts, all the others, fast deliveries and all are becoming the need of the hour of many businesses. And the tier two cities don't want to be left behind. So carrying cargo to regional destinations, which is what regional airlines are going to do, is very much part of their business plan, and it should be part of their business plan. So that's a good point.
When you go back 4 years during the pandemic period, cargo was, in so many ways, cargo was something which kept the doors of countries open to each other, and countries helped each other out. So yeah, it's not the
Absolutely.
glamour child of the aviation world, but still a very important part of the entire aviation mix. Okay, time to move to SpiceJet. They seem to be in a tearing hurry to pay off their dues, settle court cases, and other outstanding liabilities. After a successful QIP, that is something we have discussed on this show in the past. How do you think, Devesh, the year was for SpiceJet?
Time will tell, Vishal. Somehow I've always noticed, I've been watching SpiceJet for the last 3, 4 years. Whenever the issue went into a legal situation, somehow SpiceJet's promoters found the money. So I don't know why they have not been able to, financially capitalize the airline as needed till now. But whatever they have done now, 3,000 crores, it's a step in the right direction. I did look at the QIP document, it's available in a filing that SpiceJet did with the various stock exchanges. So interested readers can Google for it and download it and see exactly who all subscribed for it. And there were, curiously, a couple of Tata companies that bought shares of that QIP. So there are interesting things in that document. I think SpiceJet is now going to face serious challenges because uh, Akasa is really going gung ho, and they are, I think, now the third largest airline, or they will become the third largest airline very soon. And so that will definitely put pressure on the ownership of SpiceJet, and kind of they are no longer in a situation. They also know that they are trapped between two big gorillas in the form of Indigo and Air India Group. So both the airlines realize that they're going to have to be on their toes. And I think in many ways, this is kind of a time for SpiceJet to shape up, because I don't see them getting too many additional chances after this.
Side note, SpiceJet operated the maximum number of Udan flights in the country in 2024. So clearly, they see plenty of benefit in the scheme. Finally, let's talk about the big gorilla then, shall we? Air India. Momentous year for them.
Yeah.
What's your takeaway for Air India?
Very difficult to say. They're doing certain things in the right direction, but by and large, I'm still seeing a lot of confusion in the airline. Let me first start with what I would consider positive. They got their A350s, they've deployed them. Now they have put them on the London, New York, and New Jersey, Newark routes, which of course are signature routes for them. So good for them. Uh, on the other side, they are opening up an MRO in Bangalore with SIA, Singapore Airlines Engineering Company, which is acronymed SIAC. So I think that MRO is going to be operational by 2026. And I think another 18 months later or something, they're going to be able to take on wide bodies as well. So you will see a lot of the maintenance activities and the MRO, maintenance, repair, overall activities that today Indian carriers are sending business overseas. You'll see a lot of that coming to India. So in that way, Air India is investing a lot in the Indian infrastructure. Just, I think, about a week or so ago, Air India announced an order for training aircraft. They're setting up their flying academy in Amravati in Maharashtra. So they definitely are showing signs of investing in the Indian aviation ecosystem. They're building in all these support functions, which earlier were, sort of being sent outside. They were depending on foreign countries for pilot training, things like that. I think they're investing a lot more in India, which is a very positive sign. On the flip side, I still see so many issues. You keep seeing regularly Air India facing, you see reviews of people saying filthy aircraft, this, that. And I'm just wondering, I know sometimes it's putting lipstick on a pig, but why not? Why is it that the airline cannot clean up the plane? Why is it these things have to come out? These are just needlessly detracting. They're doing 80 things right, or even 90 things right, and then these 10 things come and just destroy the reputation of the airline. So in that regards, I really wish the airline gets its act together. They are, I mean, on the domestic side, they are improving. Things are definitely shaping up. I think they need to do that with those legacy aircraft. uh, they also have six. We in the last show we discussed six 777s that have been literally rotting in at Bombay Airport, and it's an India to India transfer. Why can't they get those aircraft, get them done up, add six more aircraft to their fleet? If you look at the total Air India 777 fleet, especially the 777-300ER, what is it they have? I'll have to just go back and check. If I remember, it's not too many. They have only some totally 19 aircraft, out of which five are already down for maintenance. Two of them, too, have been down for a very long period of time, almost a better part of a year or something. But if they add six, I mean, that's almost 50% of the fleet. So uh, I sometimes get very confused by what Air India is doing, and I really wish uh, they they need to expedite. They are working on they're facing tremendous challenges. They have got literally six cultures. They are now pushed together. Air India Express, they put in Air Asia. This side, you've got Vistara.
Exactly.
You've
I
got,
think we missed talking about the two mergers, Vistara getting subsumed into Air India and Air India Express, merging with Air Asia India.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. They're literally having, and then within Air India itself, you have the Bombay House culture, you have the Singapore Airlines culture, you have the legacy Air India culture, you've got the new Air India culture, and then you've got the Vistara culture. So, as a as a merger goes, this is a tremendous challenge for the management. It's going to be a tremendous challenge for the management. I do believe they're doing quite a few things right, but I also feel that they can do quite a few things better.
Talking about things getting better, Air India rejigged its network and aircraft to align their European, Asian, and Australian flight banks. Their in flight product promises to be more consistent now, timings more appropriate for connections. Clearly, Air India's long term ambitions of becoming a large global airline using Delhi as a hub, that plan seems to be falling into place bit by bit.
I would agree to some degree, Vishal, but this is where again I said, see, sometimes I understand Delhi is a hub, but now why would somebody want to fly to Delhi and then on to Australia? Possible, but the thing is, Delhi still has issues with Mother Nature. To me, Bangalore Airport is a far better airport. T2 is a far superior product than anything Delhi Airport has to offer right now. And it has far more, I would say, predictable weather. It has less weather disruptions. So again, this is something I really would see the possibility of Air India having to, using Bangalore as their transit point for the kangaroo hub. I think it will compete much better because it's in the natural flight path if you look at it. It will reduce that. But whatever they're doing right now makes a lot of sense. They have to capture the kangaroo traffic. They should. I mean, the two biggest 777 operators in the world, and probably the two biggest, what would I use the word, transit-based airlines are Emirates and Singapore Airlines. And they're on either side of our country, literally within 4 hours flying time from India in either direction, west to east. And they are making a massive success of it. So I see no reason why India should not be able to do it.
You can always trust Devesh to fly the Bangalore airport flag high. With that,
Absolutely.
and one more thing in our natural flight path for this week is to thank you and conclude the show and wish you a happy 2025, Devesh.
Hey, same thing to you and your family, and to all the readers, or rather all the listeners of Indian AvGeek. We wish them a lovely 2025, a safe New Year celebration. And I should say, continue to tune in to all the lovely work that Vishal is doing.
We have a new DGCA chief, Mr. Faiz Ahmed Kidwai. Best wishes to him for his tenure. Thank you again to Devesh for doing these two back to back episodes. We have a very interesting and a starry episode coming up next week. Stay tuned for that. But till then, feel free to share your feedback and rate us on the app of your choice. We stream on all podcasting apps. I wish you well and a lovely new year ahead. And of course, happy flying to you, my friends.